So taking all that wire down wasn't all that bad, but this is the mistake I made. If you're gonna buy one of these reels, don't buy this one. I've been putting this off for a few weeks now. Can't really wait any longer. We've got to move this cow, which means we're going to do a couple other things while we do that, and we got to have the fence off for a period of time. Now, he has shown no signs of challenging the fence. Still makes me a little nervous. I also inadvertently picked a very windy day to do this, which is not really a problem, just, you know, camera. Better safe than sorry. So the reason this is going to take especially long today, or maybe just be a little bit more difficult, we're going to install a cutoff switch right here. So the power for the fence, everything comes out of the barn, right in inside over there. We've got a wire running out here doing its thing. I don't have a good way to take off from where the power comes out of the barn and run it wherever else we need to. So right now, when we first set this thing up, because we just needed to get it up, I was just trying to get it up as quickly as I could. I didn't think all that through, and it was a lot to think about. It was kind of daunting because there's a lot of stuff. When you don't know anything about the fence, there's a lot you got to process and try to understand as best as you can in a short amount of time possible. And so from the beginning, this reel has kind of been the start and stop of our fence. We're swapping that out. We're going to start from here, and the reel is going to be the end point only. So I got a leftover piece of Romex here that's going to be, I don't know, what's carrying power from there. If you don't know how this thing works, our power from the Energizer is going to come up our insulated cord, tie into here. When this is open, obviously we're not transferring power from this point to this point. When this is closed, that circuit's completed, and the power is going to flow out this way. So we're going to use this side to bend and make a loop. I think I'm going to take some more wire off of there to make a loop, and that way we can hang an electrified gate handle on that. But more wire, got to have more exposed. So we use that dowel to help make a loop, but that way whenever this thing's all said and done, right there, nice sturdy spot, we'll put a staple in up against that in the barn and keep that thing from wiggling all over the place. But maybe this insulated wire will keep me from shocking myself. Probably not. We purchased all of our fencing from Premier One Supplies. I like the price, and the quality seems to be really, really good. So that's where we've been buying all of our stuff. They recommended when you're tying a knot or fastening a knot, these brass ferrules, that they come in the electric netting repair kits, but you can also buy them. I think they were cheap, so I bought a 10-pack. So for tying knots around that right there, just to help and ensure a good, strong electrical connection. Take some of these and pinching them down, so we're going to do that. All right, that is step one complete. On to the next thing. I guess before I get too carried away, I plugged that thing back in. Let's double check and make sure that thing is transferring voltage like it needs to be. Because nothing's going to be worse than doing all this stuff only to find out later that it ain't working right. The good thing is I can hear it on, which is great. Ooh, yeah, 4.3. So I'm somewhere between about 4,500 and 7,000 volts, which is not enough, but I'm probably losing quite a bit because of that. That's sitting right right there in that thing. So I had been running about 10,000 volts, but it is on, it is working. We do have electricity flow. I also mounted that thing, what, 4 to 6 inches too high. Not the end of the world, but if I need to drop it down, I don't know. We'll see. We'll tackle that in the future. That's a problem for future me. Unless you're like one of the first people who ever subscribed to the channel, you probably don't know that we've had beef cattle longer than we have had dairy cows. Now, we don't raise beef cattle. We buy a beef steer and raise it, you know, from weaning age basically to slaughter age. And with the beef cow was the first animal that we actually brought here to the farm. Goats came quickly after. We got a couple of meat goats that were more pets than anything. And then we got our dairy goats not long after that. But we have had cattle longer. I love our goats, and they are great when they get out of line. You can just pick them up and move them wherever you need to. But they don't graze like cattle graze, or like sheep. You know, goats are foragers. They sit there and they nibble and they pick and they find the best of the best that they want to eat. Cattle are indiscriminate. They just mow everything down. So this stuff, with a little bit of broom sedge in here, but it has been growing very well. It's mostly resting, aside from, you can see our electric net fence. That's where we keep our bucks. We rotate them around. They've been out here a little bit, but for the most part, this is brand new, untouched stuff that's been growing all spring, and it's just looking really, really nice. Now, one thing I've learned is that these ring top posts work excellent as line posts, but they're kind of bendy, and it's hard to show without them being in the ground, but they don't do very, very well on corners. So we're going to stake a couple of T-posts, you know, basically around the corners of our pasture here, and we're going to use those. You know, we'll use these every 30 or so feet as we go with the polywire, but the hard corners are going to be with T-posts. And now begins the fun part of driving T-posts. After walking around this perimeter a little bit, I realized I'm going to have to get the chainsaw out here and thin some of the shrubbery out. This is ridiculous, and, you know, cow might knock some of it down, but it's going to be a problem with the fence. So, I don't know, more work, but whatever. At least my chainsaw works now. Nobody is more happy than the goats when I get the chainsaw out. All right, slight change of plans. I was planning on cleaning out, or maybe even taking down this cedar tree, pine tree, whatever, yeah, cedar tree that had blown down over a fence. It's been like that for a while. Hasn't really been a problem. I plan on cleaning it up because I've just been putting it off. But pretty sure I just spooked a couple of quail back here. And if quail are using this thing as habitat, I'm not taking it down. So we're gonna find some other way to get around this. And I think that's gonna involve cleaning out this stuff, that direction. I know there's at least one covey of quail that kind of hang out around my property, and if I've got more habitat for them, we're not bothering it. I'll do whatever I can. I like quail. Bobwhite quail are one of those things that when I was a kid, I just remember, you know, hearing their calls over and over, and then you just stopped. And that's, you know, mostly habitat destruction. We do so much row crop farming in our area now. There's not as much, you know, fence row type habitat for quail, and they just basically disappeared. And so when we found there was a you know, there are quail in the area, and I'm excited. I'm really excited about that. It's been a long time, and I would love to have more quail, at least back to the point where you can hunt them again. And really, I'm not even sure that's what I saw. It's really hard to tell. They were moving so fast, but there were some clues, and I'm thinking that may be the case. So, fingers crossed. So the way I think we're going to do this is to keep him where he's at right now. We're going to use a dummy fence. The fence is off right now, but since I've got to take my reel down, our reel is going to be what we actually move him with, we're going to put this temporary fence up just, you know, for him to think it's there. So that way, as we take the rest of the fence down, he doesn't, you know, he's still contained. Not really contained, but he thinks he's contained at least. And that's the important part. Sense of urgency because he is investigating the fence. Now, even if he does go somewhere, he hasn't eaten yet for the day, so I don't think he'll go very far. He should be easy to get back, but you know, I'd rather get this done sooner. So I'm not even halfway done yet, and I kind of wonder if I'm not just wasting my time with this dummy fence. I'm going to go ahead and finish it out because I might as well, but I don't think I'm doing a whole lot of good. The good thing is the cow doesn't seem to mind. So taking all that wire down wasn't all that bad, but this is the mistake I made. If you're going to buy one of these reels, don't buy this one. When I bought my first reel of Polywire, I bought it preloaded with string so I didn't have to wind it on there myself, and I bought the one that had the most wire on it. That was a mistake. So this is 2,000 feet of wire, and as you can see, it's overflowing off the reel. It's too much to manage. These reels can't handle that much wire. And that's not a problem with the manufacturer. I mean, it's nothing against their reel. I like the reel. The brake on it is great. It's just, it's just too much to manage. So obviously the way you handle that is just over time, as you need wire, you cut off whatever length of, you know, polywire you need off of there, use it for whatever, and then eventually this will dwindle down to a point where it's not, you know, it's not so much of that. But for now, the beef steer is contained, and we are going to get this field circled in. We'll be ready to go. We're ready to move him over right at dinner time. I wouldn't wish that backlash on my worst enemy, but Riley and I got that thing cleaned up. It's amazing what an extra set of hands, however small, how big of a help that is. So we're going to get this field fixed up, then it's supper time. Well, of course we got it done, and now we're running out of daylight, but I guess we just wouldn't have it any other way. Well, wouldn't you know it, I ran completely out of light outside, but this is okay. The cow got moved, he's eating. The fence is measuring about 10,000 volts, which is what it was in its prime before some of that grass went up and touched the bottom wire. I didn't explain, I'm not running that bottom wire. Most people that I've seen run just a top wire to keep cattle in. Now, with the last two steers that we had that were maniacal, the second wire, I don't think it would have done anything. I mean, I don't know, but it made me feel better. But it didn't work out great. And that was mostly just because of how everything was running together. I mean, the grass grew up, and it's no big deal. This time I opted not to run that bottom wire. It's going to be fine. Whenever we were moving him, he was such a, I mean, afraid, I guess, of the Polywire that we had to really coax him over where he was used to stopping. So I think we're going to be fine. And so we're going to keep checking on him, of course. And I want to give you an update on what exactly went on out here and overgrazing and kind of some of that stuff. I want to do, you know, before and after, a little bit of our pastures, one that's been resting, and then what this one looks like. There's some great visuals out there. So we're going to do that real soon. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you want to see more, click on that video, that playlist. Appreciate having you around. My name's Reagan. This is the GWP Homestead. And we got more on these goats too. We'll see y'all soon.